All right, let me get my screen shared first. There we go. So just give me a second and I'll try to organize my windows here so I see something but myself. All right, so good evening, everyone. This broadcast is coming straight from Finland, from my studio, also known as my kids' Netflix arena that I get to borrow occasionally. It is 5 p.m. here, and I just finished a 7-hour online webinar. So not just a training course where my students would be doing labs, but like speaking for 7 hours. So I'm ready, been practicing for the whole day. So let's start with some common things first. So the topic is called 11 ways to hack Windows 11. I actually did a session back 13 years ago called 7 ways to hack Windows 7. And then I kind of retired that for a long time. And then I decided, actually for ETC's tech conference, Vienna, I kind of gave rebirth to this topic. But this has always been like super close to my heart. And I am not a standard hacker in a way that I would take some, I would call it boring hacking. Like I don't have the approach of taking a Metasploit and shoot with 160 different weapons and hope that something goes through. I'm more I think I even invented this myself, but I call myself a conceptual hacker. So I teach Windows operating systems like I have for 25 years, and I will use that to find the holes and the vulnerabilities in the operating system. Many of these are, in a way, misconfigurations, and maybe one of them is actually something that I would call a vulnerability, but Microsoft does not. But first of all, if we have not met before, my name is Sami Laiho. Like they just introduced me more than enough. I am a Microsoft MVP in the core operating systems since 2011 and a relatively new security MVP. I never wanted to be a security MVP. I call security departments the know as a service department. They always, when you ask anything from them, they have two answers for you. They have a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is no, and the long answer is no. Okay, so I didn't really want to be associated with them, but now I am. Well, I do get some free Azure credits for that, so that's nice. I tour around the world all the time, so I'm currently in Helsinki, or actually I'm in Siuntio, which is a city about 40 kilometers from Helsinki. I got better fiber connections here, and I have my studio here. There's more room here than in the city, but surprisingly, I'm here for the whole week. My wife is surprised. I normally only come home and count the kids, and then I leave for another conference, but it's weird for even me. I've been home for a week. So I travel all around the place, and I have visited Vienna now based on my TripIt information 48 times. So I've been there a few times, and I would be very happy to come there the next time we meet. If you want to reach me, my kind of quick release mechanisms are Blue Sky and Twitter, or X. But even more, I would very much like you to send a connect request on LinkedIn, so you can keep up with the stuff I'm doing, but also the QR code there is, it's not a joke. It's not like, trust me, like it's safe. But it's actually just a link to my newsletter, which I just moved over to LinkedIn because I used to have it on an email list maintained by MailChimp, but I have luckily so many tens of thousands of followers that that will be just a too expensive platform. I'm going to do a very demo heavy presentation that I will just keep on demo. There's really nothing else on the slides except these introductions and a number for every hack for me to remember which computer I'm going to use for the demo. And I can see that you have I can see the chat. So if you have questions, I can take a look at them afterwards. This is also recorded, so that's something that everyone's going to ask. I know someone's already asking if this is in English, and yes, it is. My German is restricted to everything I learned from scooter techno songs. So it's more like 1, 2 Polizei level. But or we can do it in Finnish as well. So that's we call the language voice over IPsec. It's an encrypted language. So without further ado, let's get into this. So first of all, we got hacks. We got 11 hacks against Windows 11 24H2. I'm really sorry. I know I'm slow as a snail when it comes to progress, because Windows 11 25H2 has already been available for 2 days. So I'm really sorry, but I honestly did not want to test everything on the brand new one, because we have a lot of demos, and if demo effects will bug us anyway. What I usually do is I always sacrifice a virtual machine for the demo gods, but even that might not solve this, because as said, 25H2 is brand new, just out of the box. But hopefully this will do. Now, let's start with a hack number 1. So this will be against BitLocker. Now, many people are talking a lot about hacking BitLocker. They're talking a lot about how strong is the encryption. Are you sure that you actually have already switched over from AES 128-bit encryption keys to 256-bit encryption keys and all that stuff? But like, normally there's no need to try and decipher these things. So there's always the criminals will choose the path of least resistance. Okay, so first one is, let me find my demo machines. Now I have so many windows that I'm lost. Here I am. So here we have a Windows 11 machine. I'm going to log in as a kind of a, someone might call it a tier 2 admin or workstation admin. So I'm not a domain admin in any way, but I am a local admin on this machine, which you can easily see by me just, for example, running UAC. You can see I get a question of yes or no, which is typical for someone who belongs to the local administrators group. Now, what I want to do is I'll share this in a little bit of a story form, okay? So I was once tasked at hacking the biggest bank in the Baltics, so Baltic states. And whenever I do like a pen test, for example, then I normally do security audits. I don't want to call them pen tests, because I get a lot more, or the customer gets a lot more from a security audit that is done by me and completely transparent. If you want to get someone to hack you like in the cool way of someone trying to get into your building and all that stuff, trust me, Paula Januszkiewicz is way better in getting into buildings than I am. Not going to go into reasons why, but there are certain things in Western cultures where, for example, men open doors for women usually, but not to other men that much. So that's why I normally do, I call them crystal box pen testing. If someone wants to put that in a pen testing budget, we can call it a crystal box pen test, but definitely not a black box one. Now, when I was tasked at this, I don't want to go to a customer. I don't want to be, some security professionals are very famous of doing things like they go in, and if they hack themselves in the first 5 minutes, they think they're done, and then they send you an invoice. I don't want to do that. I want to, like, if I fly to another country, I want to use the whole day. So what I did was I was talking to the CISO of the company that ordered this, and I told him that I don't want you to prepare in a way. You're already prepared because you know when I'm coming, but kind of like, I don't want you to prepare too much. But what would be good is that if you would at least check the most common problems first. So even before letting me in, I think it's better if you just make sure that, for example, you don't have service accounts that are leaking, okay? Now, this computer has BitLocker, and we can do this. So we'll just see PDE, manage PDE status. And you can see that we got a BitLocker on. Okay, let's dig a little bit more. So let's do protectors. Oops, protectors add. Sorry. Get. And now you can see that there is the TPM. And temp TPM is used as a protector, and then we have the password for the recovery. Okay. And now I have tools for like basic analysis so that we don't have to build them all again. So what I did was I actually shared him with this report services, and let me see, shift copy as path, and we'll just run it here. It's nothing fancy. It's just a tool that will go through your service inventory, and the service inventory will just basically list all services that look somehow fishy. Okay, so they're out of ordinary. They look like they're not properly configured. All right, it's just a PowerShell script with some sort of a get grid view output. Okay, so for example, this computer has some really weird services, because if you look at the names here, you can see that they got this hex value. I told him to go and look at all the configurations of these first. So please make sure that these don't have, like, for example, they don't point to a binary that I can change, and they don't have like limited users being able to change the configuration of the services, all that stuff. Okay. Now, the actual job when I flew in, it was a very demanding one. It was a bank, and I went in, I tried to, I didn't have admin rights. They had Applocker. They actually had 8021X on the network interface. So it was really well done in many ways. And my first problem was I couldn't get any binary in, because I couldn't go to live.sysinternals.com. It was blocked. And actually they had done preparations for this, because even my personal website was like blocked and all that stuff. So I couldn't get any binary in. What I ended up doing was I took an Intel NUC that I bring with me. I took the Intel NUC small PC, and I checked for the MAC address of the default gateway that they're using. And I switched my NUC to use the same MAC address and the same IP address. Now, 8021X usually has this short period of time when it until it re-authenticates. So what I actually did was I plugged my computer into the Ethernet and let it authenticate. And then I unplugged it from the wall and plugged it straight into my NUC. Now, as the IP address and MAC address have not changed, I could communicate for around 30 seconds. So I could transfer stuff from that before it just re-authenticated and realized it's not connected to the network and blocked that connection. And then I plugged it into the wall again and plugged it back into my NUC and transferred 30 seconds more. And it took me a while, but I got the tools that I need into the computer. Now that didn't help because Applocker was on that machine and I did not know how to run things, because everything I tried to run would have been blocked. Well, now I had sysinternals tools, so the first thing I did was I ran access check from sysinternals. I ran access check for write permissions in C Windows for limited users, and it showed me that there was there's a lot of folders under Windows where a limited user can write to, but they're usually made exceptions for Applocker, so you can't run from them. But there was one that was like out of the normal that I see, and that was called Internet Logs, and that was put in by a company that doesn't really do security. Apparently, they're called Cisco. So Cisco puts in this Internet Logs folder, and in that Internet Logs folder, you put anything you want there, and you can run it. Okay, so anyone can. They change the permissions to everyone full control, which is definitely against all the rules in any book that you read. And then if I put stuff there, it wasn't an exception in Applocker, so I could now run my stuff. But at the end of the day, the problem was that I honestly really couldn't run anything with admin rights. And that's your biggest protection for Windows is, remember, never ever to log in as an admin for places where you read email and stuff like that. So I went back home and I wrote a report and everything, and then they asked me back for a feedback session. I went there, and the the person there was like, he was smiling so much. He was like, "So, Sami, tell us, how did we do?" And I was like, "You did really good." And he was like, he was just smiling and jumping around. He was just like, "I knew it, because I have hired the best security team. These 12 people are top of the class. I have hired all of the best people around me, and our security team is so strong, and we are so happy about this. We knew we could handle you." And then he took like a piece of paper, gave it to me. It was basically like a certification, and he said, "Can you please sign this?" It's an internal form that just said, "This has been evaluated to be based on best security practices," and a place for my name, Sami Laiho, down there. And I took a pen and I was almost writing, and then I was like, one thing. And he's like, "What? Can I look at your laptop?" And I could see when he just like smiled even more. He came in and he just pressed like, I can't press Windows L here, so I'm just gonna like lock the box. Okay, so he just basically did this very quickly. He clicked Windows L and he's like, "Go ahead, knock yourself out." I got the computer, and the problem with this is that if we now boot this from, we don't even actually have to boot this. I can log in and show you what happens. But basically what happens is, if you now go back here where we were, and then check the protectors, sorry, again the wrong one. You can see the password of plain zeros here. So what actually happens was that this does a report, yes, but actually the report services.exe also puts a plain zero BitLocker recovery key in place, which meant that actually the environment was hacked before I flew in. And even more funny was that it was actually hacked by the CISO himself. So he basically hacked it for me. But a very common example of hacking where it's like, it's not that much of technical stuff. It's just luring people in with more of like social engineering. Well, he went totally red. He threw me out of the meeting. I could hear his colleagues laughing at him, or his employees were laughing at him. They were just laughing their asses off. They were just like, "You are so stupid, boss. You just ran a binary with admin rights from the freaking pen tester. Like, that is so stupid." And like, I left home and it took like a month for them to, well, I don't know how many months for them to pay my invoice, because he was so pissed at me and he would never, ever hire me again. So I'm not sure if this was actually like good for my company, but it was hilarious in every possible way. So basically, that's easier than trying to like think if you can actually somehow hack it. If the person is using admin rights, it's just easier to fool them to do something silly like this. So now we have BitLocker, and we are going to use that, or we're going to need that key. And it's also going to make my demos a lot easier, because it's very convenient that it's plain zeros, as you will see. Okay, so let's check another way of looking at this. One of the biggest problems that I see in almost every company that I do a security audit for, I do a lot of security audits, not as much as someone who would do this with the script, because I normally do security audits very manually. I don't like the bulk way of doing audits where you just run a script and then it gives you a nice report and tells you how bad you were, and then they give you another script to fix it and whatever, sell it to you. But I feel more like a personal doctor. I can only take like one customer a week, as they can of course do like 50 a day because they've automated everything. But I don't really have need for that. It's only 3 people in my company, so it's not that much. And one thing that I have not seen a single customer yet to have correctly configured. So now we need another machine, student number 3. All right, let's go here and change the computer for a while. So that's 5. Let's see what we have here. Student number 3 is this one. Now this is a more typical modern computer in a way that this is actually connected to Entra ID. So I am actually logged in as sami@adminas.com to my company tenant. And the problem with this is that if I want to do something funny, like put games on it or install devices or whatever, I can't. I'm not an admin. So let's hack myself to an admin. Now, the problem here is that if we boot this machine, let's just first make sure we have a bootable media in the machine. So I'm going to plug in a Windows 11 Business Edition version something here. And then we can reboot this. So let's just do a restart here. Now, if I boot, Jesus, I think this is actually on every machine now. So I have a problem here because I need to move that up in the boot order. So let's just try that once more. So I could also do a shift restart. That's another way, but then there's a problem that it asks you for the local admin password, which I don't know. So it's always better to have an external media for this. It can be Linux with NTFS support, or it can be Windows 7 or 10 or 8 or whatever you want. And now we get here, and what I'm going to do now is I am actually going to tell that I'm going to use the Finnish keyboard layout, and that should be there. Great. And I want to repair my PC. Instead of saying installing, I want to repair. Now, when I go and say that I want Finnish again, there we go. Now, troubleshooting this. I want to troubleshoot this with the command prompt. Now we have an issue here, okay? Because, of course, the whole idea of BitLocker is that I can't connect to it, okay? They made this a little bit more difficult with the Windows 11 24H2. So we're actually gonna see a brand new way of doing the same thing that we've done for ages, but this is just a little bit more complicated here. So first of all, the thing is that normally I would have, if I say C, it would have said that you have BitLocker. And that would be the protection that protects me from installing funny games on my computer. That's the lock of Windows security, is actually the recovery key of BitLocker. That's what at the end of the day prevents me from doing funny stuff on my machine. Just keep that in mind, okay? Now, what's different here is that you actually have to go first to disk part. Let's increase this even more so you can see. And then let's list volumes that we have. And you can see that we have one NTFS volume here with 126 gigs. It says unknown. That's because it has BitLocker. But what we're going to do is select volume 1. And then I'm going to assign it a letter. Okay, that's all we have to do here. Now remember, this is all recorded, so don't worry if you don't catch everything. So now I'm going to try C, and now you can see the driver is locked by BitLocker drive encryption. So this should actually keep everyone safe. Now the problem with this is that Entra ID default configuration is horrible, okay? And Finnish, both our old capital Turku and our current capital Helsinki, both had their schools hacked with this method. So this is not something that I just invented, but we just figured out why the kids are getting admin rights to their school machines, even if they should not. And that was a very interesting case in many ways. But now we need to open this. Okay, so we do manage PDE and unlock. I don't even remember what it is. There we go, unlock. Okay, so we're going to do unlock C, and then the recovery, oh my god, recovery password. Let me see if this is, I don't want to do this many times. I think that's the correct. Okay, it's lazy. I'm just gonna do this. So recovery password for Jesus, that way. Okay, and then we have to put in the recovery password. But of course now I won't get the password. I can call into services, can ask for it, but I should not get it. Now we come to the issue, and the real issue is that on your normal machines where like if you go to Portal, Entra or whatever, I mean Portal, Azure.com or whatever, they can be protected with your conditional access and all that stuff. But let me show you. So myaccount.microsoft.com, and by default Entra ID will actually work like this. So we got devices, and here's our ex-student03, view BitLocker keys, and anyone can actually get their own key. So that's what the kids did. Okay, get your recovery key. Now we go back to the machine, and I need to use the clipboard here. Hopefully this works. Okay, just put that in. A volume letter is required. Well, that's a good point. Okay, now successfully unlocked C. Now we can go to C drive, and then we can start hacking the machine however we wish. We got multiple choices for that, and I will show it to you on another machine. So probably some of you are interested also in how can this be fixed. So I should have a, let me show you. Now I just need another browser here. Give me a second. I will not let you see my usernames and passwords. Okay. I need an MFA as well. Give me a sec. I need a password first, so I need to get it from here. I know I'm boring, but not that I wouldn't trust you, it's not that. So let's go and find a password first, and then I need to do an MFA. I'm just wishing that BIM and everything is oh my god, what's going on? Oh, sorry guys. This happens when you're like, you teach the whole day. So once more, and then I can transfer this to you. Okay. Did not. Now that should be the correct one. Okay, and now finally, sorry for the wait. Now we have normal Azure Portal here, and I have changed this on purpose now, but it's good so you see the default. So if you go to Entra ID, manage, and devices, and manage and device settings. The last setting here, other settings, restrict users from recovering the BitLocker key to their own devices. This is by default no, but this should be yes everywhere in the world. Okay, so that's an easy fix as well. So that's hack number 2. It's not really a hack, but as I said, that's even more interesting. Lets me into many environments. Now let's go back to our student 01 and finish off where we started. So I think we have a wrong machine. Student 01 is the student 04, student 03, 2, 1, this one. Okay, so now we're gonna hack this. So we can start off with maybe I'm smart this time and I'll do this first. Okay, so move up here and DVD drive, image file, Windows 11. Okay, now we're gonna boot this machine and it should ask for press any key. Did, good. Now I can do it in two different ways, okay? So I can go the same route as we just did. So I can go next, and yeah, finish is fine, and I can say repair my PC. And for sure, I am your only instructor at ETC who has his own keyboard layout. You have to work with Windows very long to have it. Troubleshoot, and we can go for command prompt. And now, sadly, we have to do the same stuff we just did. So let's do diskpart. And list volume. And that's the unknown partition 126. Okay, so that's volume 1. Okay, so select volume 1. Assign. Okay, exit out from here. Now we can try C. It's BitLocker protected, so let's do the same thing we did before. So manage BDEC drive unlock recovery password. Oh my god, this is difficult. 0000. There needs to be 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And lazy. Okay, now we unlocked C. Now let's do the hack complete here. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make a backup. So I'm going to go for Windows, System32, and I'm going to copy the sticky keys executable one folder up. So I'll put it in the C Windows because I want to show you another trick later on. Then I am going to do the actual hack, which is just copying CMD on top of the sticky keys. And this hacks any Windows from Windows XP up to Server 2025. Override, yes, please. Okay, and that's it. Exit out. Now I am going to say troubleshoot. And I'm going to say that I want to actually, I can't do it from here. Sorry, I'm getting like ahead of myself because I have to first get into safe mode. So what I'm gonna do is I have BitLocker, I know, but it's very convenient now. And then you can't hit the shift key 5 times like we did for years, because in 2018 Microsoft blocked this with Windows Defender. So if I hit the shift key 5 times now, Windows Defender will block the hack. So you have to do one step extra. You press the shift key, and when pressing the shift, you choose restart. And then we are not booting from the DVD anymore, but we are getting into the recovery options. And now in the recovery options, you can say troubleshoot, advanced options, and startup settings. And this will take us to yet another prompt, but no problem. I'm just going to put in the key. And now I can go into safe mode. So let's do safe mode with networking. And the idea here is that Windows Defender and most of the anti-malware engines, they don't run in safe mode. So then the hack will not be prevented by Defender. Now, when you're here, you hit the shift key 5 times. Okay, get the command prompt, and sadly, in a way, running as the system account. So now you can do whatever you want. So let's just let's actually do this in a fun way. Let's do net local group Azure AD Sami Laiho. Oh, sorry, my bad. Net local group administrators, of course. Azure AD Sami Laiho add. Okay, there is no such user. This one will not show it to me. Oh, I'm in safe mode. Yes, true. Okay, let's do it then. All right, net user, hacker, password query1, add, net local group administrators, hacker, add. And if you don't like my command line stuff, the good thing in Windows is that in Windows you don't have to log in to use the tools. So just open computer management and then you can just do it here manually. If you have like a policy that's enabled, like let's set the password for the admin as well, so we can get in with that if we need to. Works a little bit better in safe mode, so that might be convenient, and it's enabled by policy. Woohoo, that's so horrible. Let's just go and say account is disabled. Now you can enable it. Okay, you can use this for eavesdropping on the company. You can go for administrators, add, and now you can use this as your recon tool. So I can say that, because many people say it's not that dangerous if you hack a single machine, but it's the step, it's the foot between the door. So I'm interested only in this company's domain controllers. And let's do advanced and hit find now, and there's the clear target where I'm going to attack next. Okay, so it gives you a lot of information because the system account authenticates as the computer account, which belongs into the authenticated users group, which has read permissions for the directory. You could make it even, you could even do this AD, oh my god, I can't remember. Oh, sorry, now I remember. AD Explorer. That's a sysinternals toolkit. So I actually could start this. DNS server not authorized for John. Okay, so that won't work now in safe mode. So that's I can't do that. I would have to first go in and then I can run it. But fine, let's try my hacker account here. So /hacker. One. And there we go. Okay, so now you're an admin on the machine. Do whatever you want. All right. We can let that process here while we start looking into what's actually our next hack. Hack the language packs. Okay, so when we are logging in, you've all seen this all the time, and this is relatively boring. So what I've done is, let me show you. Got student 05. This one. I'm going to create a new user here. So test password query1 add, and then I'm going to change to that user. So just do test query. And isn't this a lot more fun? Now this is actually a vulnerability, okay? So problem with Windows is that Windows does not require language packs to be signed, which means that language packs, every text, even on the English version of Windows running English user interface, everything nowadays goes through what are known as MUI packages, multilingual user interface packages. So what I've actually done is I've used a tool called Resource Hacker, which is this one here. And oh, that did not elevate. Let me do that again. So Resource Hacker run as admin. This is a little bit funny when you start looking at it. So I use tools that I teach on my classes. So I used a tool called Process Monitor to figure out that it's actually this one. I made a copy of it, but it's actually this package here. And inside of that package, all the strings are here. So there's some Finnish here. I wish Sami Laiho was here. Howdy, etc. I'm not the sharpest pencil in the box. You saw some of these. But you can change this to whatever you want. And when you've changed it, you just press compile and save. And you can make Windows speak whatever you want. So when it says press Ctrl Alt Delete, you can say, let's say, press apple, banana, pineapple. But you could do things like when someone types in a password, you could change the password to say username. And then change the username to say password. So when they type in the password to the password box, it actually would be saved in clear text in the event logs, and it would also be visible on the UI. So I see that this is a horrible vulnerability, but Microsoft says this is not a problem at all, so I don't get a bug bounty for this. But I am going to have, because they're not going to pay me for the bug bounty, I'm going to have so much fun with this. You have no idea how funny Windows is I've been delivering to people. So that's another one. Now we're back. Student 01 now can log in as an admin. So if we have our student 01 here, that's not the machine, it's this one where we have our hacker. So I am just going to answer to all these annoying questions, which could be changed as well, because even those go through a MUI package. Now this is still in safe mode. But if we look at this computer, let's do like sysdm.cpl. And we have an issue here, because even though I am an admin, the problem is that I still have group policies that control me. Well, group policy documentation states that group policy can only be used to manage limited users, not admins. So it's not even supposed to work. So in this way, it's a little bit unfair. What we can do is we can take you can go online and find let's put this on the recording. I think it's important that it shows up. So let me find some sort of a browser here. And if you go and Google for group policy, no, I'm not gonna try that. Group policy settings reference spreadsheet. It actually just came out with the new one. So the new one is actually for Windows 25H2. Surprisingly, they actually made it on the same day as the publishing of the operating system, which is very rare. Now the problem with that is that they currently have an issue with it, which means that if you try to download it, it just says that there's some digital rights management that's not working. So I'm going to take the older version, 24H2. And then this gives you an Excel sheet that has all group policies, which is very convenient for you to, for example, now if you want to deploy 25H2, you go here, you check all the policies, and there is actually a column that you can set. So if you go to administrative templates here, new in Windows 11, and then you will have 25H2. So it's very convenient to go through of what you should be at least taking some sort of a look at. Now we're going to go here and we're going to find there's a setting called allow users to connect. Allow users to connect remotely by using remote desktop services. And then the best thing is, this is every hacker's first thing they have. I don't know if you use it, but every hacker uses it, because this shows you the actual registry keys for the policy. Now I have the key, which means that I have just hacked myself local admin. So we are in a good place. Okay, reg edit. And then we're going to go HKey local machine, software, policies, Microsoft, Windows NT, terminal services, FD ITS connections, delete, yes please. And then we can go and see sysdm.cpl again. And now you can see that the policy is gone. Okay. And it won't even come back with the GP update. It only comes back with a GP update / force, which is actually never run for this setting unless you have changed group policy settings or installed security baselines. But that's something I teach on my courses as well, even more. All right, that was policy hacking. Impersonation. Ooh, this gets even more interesting now. So what I'm going to do now is I think I need to, I don't know, I have to go out and get rid of safe mode. And don't do this as a tip for having an easier recovery. Okay. Now, this one is in the real mode. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have kind of allowed myself to change the remote desktop, then the good thing is that I can now actually go and set it on as well. It might be disabled by policy and I want to actually turn it on in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to answer these silly questions again. No, no. Include optional is the only one I actually like. So no, no, no. Now, sysdm.cpl. And we can make sure that we have allowed. Okay, so let's allow the connection here. Looks good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to call into our service desk. And before that, I'm going to start process hacker already. So this one needs to run as admin. So I get a privilege called impersonate a client after authentication. Okay. I'm going to leave this here. It says it has a new version. I don't need a new version. This is just fine. So then what I'm going to do is, just to speed things up a little bit, I'm just going to lock the box. So no, definitely not that. This is so annoying when they keep moving these. So I just want to lock the box, and I'm not allowed to lock the box. Why am I not allowed to lock the box? Do we have a policy for that? Lock. Okay, then we're going to find our domain controller here, and our domain admin is going to do the biggest mistake in the book of Windows security, which is that he's going to, oh no, that was just a hiccup on the connection apparently. So this one is our domain admin. And now he's going to help out. I'm going to call him and say, hi, this is Sami calling. I literally have 110 people from Austria looking at my session. So I can't even open PowerPoint. So while I keep telling them horrible Finnish jokes, can you just please do me a favor and try to fix my machine? They do an RDP from here. And they do the biggest mistake in the book of Windows security, which is log on to a potentially compromised endpoint with the domain admin account. Domain admin accounts are not allowed to be used anytime on a normal workstation, only on privileged access workstations and domain controllers. And there's someone in, absolutely kick him out. Now this is the admin, as you can see. He has bad vision, so he has his admin stuff here, okay? So I am a domain admin and I operate here. Now what actually happens in the background, so I'm going to log in back here with the hacker account, which is in no way even a domain user. So not a domain admin, but definitely not even a domain user. So let's see here, and we can see our Mr. Administrator is here and his Explorer is here. And I can right click miscellaneous run as this user. And I just want to run a CMD. Okay, who am I? Company owned. Okay, so now I'm the domain admin. So now we can create Sami 31, but not just locally, but in the domain. And then we're gonna do net group enterprise admin Sami add domain. And now we have an enterprise admin. Okay, so that's relatively straightforward. If you give a user local admin, they can impersonate anyone who starts even a single process on the machine. And there you can say bye-bye to your company. What if you don't have Process Explorer because it looks like a little bit fishy? This has the Windows Defender and it didn't say anything, but maybe you have a case where you actually need to be able to use something in box. Now, I think I already downloaded a tool that I need. Let's see, PSXX64 from sysinternals signed by Microsoft. Yes, we have it. Great. So PSXX, and I'm going to start SID CMD. So I get to root. Remember, in Windows, administrator is not root. It's just a poor little admin. The root is actually the system account. Now, if I start task manager here, I can go and see that your sessions are here. So we have the administrator here. But if I right click and I say connect, you can see that I can't log in because I don't know the password. I just impersonated him. But that's only protected against admins. So when we go from his system, on the other hand, task manager, find the users, choose admin, right click connect. Oops. And then there you are. Overriding files. Let's fix the machine that we broke earlier. So what I'm going to do is I have this, that's this domain controller. Where's our, no, this is actually the student one. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to reboot this back into the safe mode, and let's pretend that we are in that phase where we ended up with, okay? I just needed to get out of safe mode so I can show you that. But what I'm gonna do now is, I don't know what, why did I do that? That's not the way. I don't wanna do that. I need to get to safe mode, but I think the problem here is that, let's see, does this allow me even to do that? So next. That's what I thought. Reset. Okay, I'm gonna do it from the start menu. It's really annoying you can't press F8 anymore. That's thanks to Steven Sinofsky, who had a vision of Windows 8, and he said that in a matter of 2 to 3 years, no people will use keyboards and mouse anymore. So he removed the ability to press F8 because no one's gonna have a keyboard. Here we go. All right, and troubleshoot, advanced options, startup settings, restart, and we can just take this now into safe mode. Yes, I know. Safe mode with networking, doesn't really matter which safe mode it is. You could do this from an online machine, okay? So I could have done this also from like the real running system with the hacker account, but there's a small risk that Windows Defender would have caught it, and I'm looking at the clock and I see I don't have time to take risks, so that's why I did it this way. Now what I'm gonna do is, let's just start a terminal here. Media is protected, yes, sure. Let me do run cmd, and here we go. So now remember, I did a backup. So if I go to system 32, or sorry, from Windows, copy. If I hit the shift key 5 times now, we still have the issue that this one is still hacked. Now, if I copy the zhc.exe I stored here, and I'll copy it into system 32. Overwrite the one that's already there, yes please, but you can't do it because this is protected by Windows Resource Protection. And even if I'm an admin, they have put in these annoying things where there's like attributes, there's permissions saying that I can't overwrite this. I don't own it, it's owned by the trusted installer. I mean, there's so many annoying things. Now, what if we choose another tool? So let's do RoboCopy, which is a folder copy tool, so it works a little different. So you give it the source folder, the destination folder, and then what you want to copy. Okay, well, it won't work because this is a permissions issue. It's still access denied. But now the good thing about this is that I have a privilege, and Windows security privileges beat permissions. So I have a privilege called restore files or other objects. And the good thing about RoboCopy is that it allows you to use the backup API. So I can use my privilege instead of my permission, which allows me to override whatever I want. So now shift key 5 times, now we're back, okay. So that's now fixed. I can overwrite any files I want, even if you say deny Sami from reading this, I can overwrite whatever I want because I have the restore privilege. Also, I can read whatever I want because I have the backup privilege. Kill Applocker. Okay, so which computer student 04 is Applocker equipped? So we got, which one is student 04? This one. Okay, so let's just log in. Here's student 25 is a normal user, not an admin. And he has these cool tools here. He has his notepad here. He likes it, but then he would really like to use the PowerShell ISE, but it's blocked by Applocker. Okay, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna shift restart this from here. And we can do this a little bit other way. And let's troubleshoot advanced options, startup settings. Actually not, I mean command prompt. Okay. C drive. This is not BitLocker protected, so a good reason for having BitLocker as well. So we just go system Applocker stuff here for Applocker. We're simply gonna do dot. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Everything's deleted, and then I am going to go and detach my network cable. So in this case, because it's a virtual machine, I need to do it this way. So I'm just gonna rip off the network cable, exit, continue. And now I can run PowerShell. Okay, so Applocker dies. So Applocker is no use for you unless you have BitLocker on all the machines. BitLocker is not for data encryption, it's for the configuration integrity of your operating system. So every machine needs BitLocker, whether it has data or not. Task scheduler, let's go bombard this machine now. Now that I have ability to run tools that I want, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to run this task scheduler here. I already know a local account in this case because, well, we could have hacked it, but I don't want to do that all the time for all the machines because it just takes too much time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here for a scheduled task, Microsoft. And while we do that, we want to also see the domain controller. So let me show you a domain controller view somewhere here. Here we go. Domain, Active Directory users and computers. And I can show you that we have the users here and we got our domain admins here. And you can see who are domain admins. Okay, administrator and student DA. Okay, then I'm just going to make a task here. I'll call it Adobe Update so no one will suspect anything. And I'm going to change this to anyone who's in our student 04. What? Stupid Sami. Sorry. Probably won't find it because there's no network connection. Okay. This might work better. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I am gonna need to do this again and run as admin. And Microsoft, create new task, Adobe Update, and run it. But now entire directory, and we will find a person who belongs to the administrators. Domain admins group will probably do this for everyone, but in this case there's only one, and luckily nowadays you don't need to know the password. So just set it here, run with highest privileges so it bypasses UAC, and then we do a trigger, new trigger, and this trigger will be popping up on the screen hopefully very soon. So at logon of any user, please run new net.exe with the parameters of group, domain admins, student 25, add domain. Okay. And now we're gonna sign out from here. And then we call in for a favor again. Can you please come help? Horrible disaster. Please quickly go help me. And we're going to do the same mistake as we did before. And that is that I did not enable the remote test. Okay, I'm going to call him. Please use Adidas protocol and walk over. Okay. So he's coming with his feet here. Okay. I'm improvising. And he's going to go through this horrible login experience. Luckily, I didn't change it for this because the admin would probably be mad if it would like tell me that you're not the sharpest pencil in the box. Almost there. Sure. Okay. Now, when this is happening here, then what we're going to actually do is we're going to go on this side and we are going to find domain admins from here. And you can see I'm there. Okay. And then the last one, we are already 5 minutes over, so it's about to stop here. Don't worry. So this one is a very simple one, and it's about Autopilot. So this is what I do, like for many of my company, like my customer audits that I do. What I actually do is they will normally provide me with a computer that is it this one? Yes, it looks like this. So nowadays they give it to me. It's like straight from the box, because they use this great feature from Microsoft called Autopilot. But now I'm going to show you why every Autopilot is a compromised endpoint, and you should treat it like that, unless you do the Autopilot yourself before you hand over the machine to the person. Because I do security audits, and the first thing that happens is they will bring me this, and then of course in the next phase I should log in with my company credentials that they have provided me, but I am not an admin, of course. So then this would ask me for the Entra ID. So what you do is you press Shift F10, and now I'm here, and then I'll just do net user hacker query1 add net local group administrators hacker add manage PDEC protectors get. Just when I was about to get there. So now the idea here is I should not have. I should have waited first for it to, because it started updating. Anyway, so you got full admin. What I do normally is I create myself an admin account, and then Intune people will try to take my admin rights away from me. So then what I'll do next is then, on top of creating the admin for myself, so now I already have an admin here, net user hacker is there. So then the next part would be manage PDE, and probably they have already somehow encrypted this. So PDEC protectors get. Okay, there's no BitLocker yet, but what I would normally do is I would just add myself a BitLocker recovery key as well, the 0 ones, so that I can also use that. And then normally I will, on top of everything, I will also do set cdh.msc, and then I'll create a scheduled task here, which will actually be just a task that will make myself admin every 5 minutes. Because the people think that they can protect against this Autopilot stuff so that their Intune will just clean up everything, but they can't beat the fact. I asked Mikko Hyppönen, the person who did the keynote for Black Hat 2025, I asked him on Twitter, if the computer is physically accessible by the user before it's joined to the company network, is it a compromised endpoint? And he answered yes. Okay, so Autopilot, you have to always remember that they are compromised endpoints unless you white glove them in, which means that you install them and give it to the user. Then it's fine, but you can't like send them in cardboard boxes. How do we block these? You have to have a very good inventory. Of course, inventory is the most critical security control by the Center for Internet Security, CIS. You should do security audits for your environments because we can find them. You should always use privileged access workstation, so you cannot log in from a domain controller to an endpoint with your domain admin. So you need privileged access workstations and Active Directory tiering and Entra ID tiering. Never let them be admins, and always deploy Applocker. Now, all of these concepts will almost take a day to explain, which means that I have a security course available at ETC for this. But I want to end this by just reminding everyone that, remember, in today's world, your job is not to stop the enemy. Your job is to slow them down. There is no such thing as 100% security, and if you try to build a control up to 100% before you release it to production, you're just gonna lose, you're gonna miss the importance of logging and monitoring and all that stuff. Our job is to slow them down. Our job is to make them swim around our protections like this, which looks very weird. We can prove it even in the camera. It looks very weird. And this makes it an anomaly which a security operations center can then identify. So we make them look fishy and we make them slow enough for other people to catch them. If you need anything from me, here are my contact details. My trainings are available from ETC. I think we get a few words for that after this. And then consulting-wise, just contact sales@adminize.com. And if you need my video on demand, I want this to be here because it's going to be on the recording. So we need it here, but it doesn't have to take any longer than this because now I'm just going to give up my sharing because I think that's going to go now for Christoph.